Hey, happy Monday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It is a new week, second week of December. We are inching away towards the end of the year, day by day, and it's getting closer. We're feeling it, and yeah, it's a beautiful time of the year. I think the holiday spirit, the Christmas spirit, the end of the year, um, and yes, I love this time of the year. And this is In the Raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. And we've been talking about made to make a difference. We've been talking about that we have been made to make a difference. And we're talking about different aspects of this. You know, we were made to make a difference in everything that we do. And last video, we were talking about making a difference with the poor. And we kind of summed it up that maybe we don't have, we can't go to a poor country or a place where a lot of poverty exists, but we can make a difference in those that are poor in spirit. Many people around us are poor in spirit. And today I want to talk about making a difference on the other side of the wall. What does that mean, the other side of the wall? Well, we tend to build walls around us. We tend to build walls because we don't want to deal with certain type of people, or and sometimes we do this unconsciously. We build walls around us because we want to stay away from a certain type of person, or it happens. It's reality. But what is on the other side of the wall? We want to protect ourselves from certain groups of people, but how do we understand people that are on the other side of the wall that we've built? What is on the other side of the wall? We have to understand, and we've been repeating this. We've been created by God to make a difference in somebody's life in this world. And it's easy to talk about loving the world because we aren't thinking specifically about who to love. And it's easy to talk to people that we get along with, people that we are, that think like we do, but there are people in the world that may have hard time noticing, this, and, hard time loving, in fact, because we build these walls to separate us, and things like money, status, race, all these things create prejudice in our lives. And not to mention, the political climate. We take sides, and we start, jumping on that bandwagon, and people, that are not the same as us, politically speaking, that don't think like us, then we build that wall, and we say, I don't want anything to do with you because you think differently, because you support a certain ideology, and I'm not for that. And we built these walls. But let's explore what the Bible has to say about tearing down these walls. Let's take a look and see what the Bible tells us. Let's take a look at some stories that give us insight on how we can tear down these walls, because that's what we're called for. We're called to tear down those walls. And like I said, there are many walls in our culture that separate people. And there were many walls during the days of Jesus as well that separated people. And there's a classic example of this wall that separated the Samaritans from the Jews, two different groups that did not look eye to eye, and that they were discriminating each other. And in the conversation that Jesus has with a Samaritan woman, he dismantles every wall between him and this woman. The wall of gender, the wall of social class, even the wall that was there because he was perceived as a rabbi and she was perceived as a 5-time divorced woman. He just kind of took away all of those bricks out of the wall until the two of them were there sitting there face to face, having an honest and life-changing conversation. The disciples learned from this example because of the book of Acts, and they sent this guy named Philip to the Samaritans also. He does the same thing. He just takes the bricks out of the wall until he can have an honest conversation with them. He accepts them. He didn't let the wall stand between him and the people that were different than him. And there's this story in the same chapter in Acts of him going to the Ethiopian Enoch. And in Enoch, if you're not familiar with what that person was, or what it was actually a title to a man that was separated for the service of the queen. And so these Enochs, their sole responsibility and job was to serve the queen in anything that they needed. And the particular thing about them is that they were castrated, so that they were not tempted to do anything other than serve the queen. And so that's why they were called Enochs. And Philip and this Ethiopian Enoch, they couldn't be more different. Philip is light-skinned. The Ethiopian Enoch is dark-skinned. Philip is an evangelist. The Ethiopian Enoch is a government official. Philip is the father of 4 girls, and the Ethiopian Enoch, well, he's an Enoch. There were plenty of reasons for Philip to say that this guy is pretty different. But I'm not going to talk about him. But he went and he had a conversation with this guy about Christ, to the point where the Ethiopian Enoch did something. And it says in Acts 8:36, as they went down the road, they came to some water. The Enoch said, "Look, water. What would keep me from being baptized?" Basically what he's saying is, can I have what you have? And what if Philip would have said, well, I don't know if you can. You can have what I have. We don't really have a place for you. You have to change the way you dress. You have to quit some of the habits you have. But he went through all that and he said, you can have what I have. What happens here is that we're given a picture of the church. And when I mean church, I'm not saying a building. I'm saying the people that belong to the church. We are the church, the people that are part of this church. And the church is a place where race, where gender, where crazy dress, where styles, hairstyles, all that doesn't matter, shouldn't matter. What matters most is the cross of Christ. And that the community is brought together not because they look the same, but because they look in the same direction. They're all different, but they all look in the same direction. They look in the direction of Christ. And that's the picture of the church, and that's what happens when we begin blasting a few walls down in the name of Christ. So I think it's time to bust down some of these walls in our society. I think it's time for us to start making a difference on the other side of the wall. So in the next few videos, we'll be talking about this and continue seeing what the Bible says about bringing down these walls. I hope you have an amazing day, amazing week. We'll talk to you soon.